or you can make a lot of money on a particular day.
Hey, Mark. So I want to kind of, while we're talking about orders, we've heard a lot from our customers, and even just from me ordering delivery during this time, there's a lot of people who are picking up orders for the very, very first time.
Mm-hmm.
What are some common things you've seen or you've gone through on your first few orders, of maybe some issues, or like the actual, like, how do you walk through as a first time person going into a restaurant, picking up an order and overcoming maybe some of the obstacles that maybe the order's not ready yet, and so on and so forth?
Sure. So when you sign up and the first time you receive an order, an assignment will come through your phone, and this assignment will show you. It'll show you the restaurant that you're going to go to, how many items are in the order, the customer's name, and then ultimately, the number of miles it's going to take to drive, both to the restaurant and to the customer, as well as the minimum amount you're going to be paid. You might end up earning more than what's initially noted, but it'll show you, at the very least, how much you'll make on a particular order, which does vary by tip amount and by sort of the distance or the amount of challenge to a particular order. So
Okay.
when you receive this assignment, you have approximately 45 to 60 seconds to either accept the order and then move forward, or you can decline it and then you remain idle until you pick up the next one. Typically, how you decide if you're going to accept or decline an order is if you feel it's worth your time. And again, the payouts on certain orders are, they can vary quite a bit. And if you have a little bit of experience, you can kind of figure out, okay, it's, the total amount is 4 miles and I'm going to a restaurant that I'm familiar with. So, and I think it's going to take me about a half hour to complete it. And so if this order is going to pay out $10, I'm trying to earn, $20 an hour gross, then, I'll take it. But there are times when, the payout on a particular order is noticeably bad. And so you decline it and you kind of go back into the pool of the next order.
Mm-hmm.
So
real quick on that.
Yeah.
When is an order worth declining and when is it worth accepting?
Right. So, again, when I'm dashing, I typically determine if I'm having a good day or a bad day. And this does matter a little bit. It's kind of like housing. All of the markets are sort of individualized. So, here in Silicon Valley and in the San Jose area, I want to make $20 an hour gross on, when I'm out. So if I look at an order and I can determine, if an order is going to pay out, $10, again, with all of the dashes that I've done, I can kind of figure it out that, okay, I think this $10 order is going to take me about a half hour. And so I'll take it. And there's, other orders that are very obviously a lot more lucrative than that. And then there's other orders that aren't going to pay out very well at all. And it's kind of a waste of time. And so I will decline it and, wait for the next one to come through. And it's, again, as you gain more experience, you can kind of figure out, hey, it's a really slow day. I'm going to take just about anything. Or, it's a really busy night and I'm not going to take this, $3 or $4 order because I feel that 30 seconds from now, I'm going to get a new assignment and it's going to pay, $12. So there's always that continual sort of fluctuation in what you think that, if you're going to have if it's going to be an acceptable order or not.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you factor in like canceled orders into earning potential? And because earlier you mentioned that like if you receive 0 orders, you're going to go home with $0. How are canceled orders factored into earning potential for dashers?
Yeah, well, I mentioned, sitting for 2 hours and not making any money. That's a very rare occasion, and DoorDash over the years has had the technology and the ability and the experience to really allow the supply of dashers plus the demand of orders to, get pretty close, and they've done they've improved, greatly over that. So there's rarely a case when you're sitting there for, a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour, not doing anything. It's just, it just doesn't happen, very often. So, again, dashers can kind of get a sense of, if an order is going to be worth it or not. And it's tough if you've sat there for 20 minutes and you haven't received anything. You're more likely to take the $4 or the $5 order because, you're just sitting there and you want to get moving. That doesn't happen very often, and, more often than not. And of course, I don't dash 40 hours a week. I typically dash, on a Sunday evening, or, currently at a, weekday lunch or a dinner during normal times anyway. And so, I'll get orders pretty consistently. And, as soon as I finish an order, within 30 seconds, I'll get another one. And they typically I accept about, 60 to 75% of my, of the assignments that come through.
Nice. And so you mentioned that, there are slow periods. And I know you right now are exclusively doing DoorDash. You're taking a little break right now due to the coronavirus outbreak and pandemic that's happening. But, if you're experiencing a slow time, can you manage working across multiple platforms or multiple delivery services? And are there any apps out there that can help drivers kind of navigate orders across multiple platforms?
There are people who do it. And in fact, I've seen dashers out there who are somehow managing two separate DoorDash accounts concurrently, but similar to, someone who's working Uber and Lyft at the same time. There are dashers out there. I don't think it's quite as common, but there are dashers who are also doing Uber Eats or Postmates or Grubhub, at the same time to pick up, just to have more opportunities to make money. In the times that, I've dashed, again, when I'm going, 15 or 20 hours a week, it's easier for me to work during times that I know are busy. Again, weekday lunches, dinners, during other high volume times that maybe we can talk about. But, I typically can, make the amount of money that I want, that I expect, working exclusively through DoorDash. But there are people who multitask like that, often. Mm-hmm. It's just maybe a little above my abilities.
Awesome. And so, going into DoorDash, there's two questions that I have for you. One is, what's your advice for people when they accept an order, such as going into things like, how do you park? Where do you park? I know being in Silicon Valley, parking is extremely tough there sometimes, and same with here in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. But then also, are there different kinds of facilities or restaurants that you prefer picking up at, such as like, do you prefer a restaurant that's inside a mall or compared to a basic storefront kind of thing?
Yeah. So, for if someone is going to start dashing, one bit of advice, I'll talk about the parking and stuff in a moment, but, first of all food delivery companies, they're pretty similar. They're all app-based. How much you can earn actually can fluctuate between, different markets. DoorDash has been clearly the winner for me, here in San Jose. But if you're in LA, as I understand, Postmates is, somewhat more popular. And if you're in other markets around the country, it might be Grubhub or Uber Eats or something that works out, best for you. So, just because I'm always a dasher and that's what I chose, it's not necessarily what's going to work, for someone who is new to a food delivery platform. So that said, the first advice that I would give to anyone who's going to do food delivery or any delivery is to buy one of those wall mount window mount things for your phone, because, you might not think about this now, but if you're constantly looking at your phone for, assignments, for directions, etc., you want that, right there, just so you can just dart your eyes to the side, so that you can, remain safe on the road, which of course is number one priority. That said, I also would suggest that, you try a couple of different regions out once you choose your platform. And, it's good to get familiar with a region and just keep dashing there, keep, postmatesing there, because you become familiar with the area. Many of the restaurants are going to be repeaters. And so you can find, that lesser known, street to park on. You can, the times of the day when they're going to be busy, or if it's going to be a real bear, to go, to try to get to a certain place or not. Certainly, as you bring that up, Nate, it just recalls to me that going inside a shopping mall is always a mess because they're crowded. And then,
imagine,
you want to stay, you want to go into, a standalone restaurant that, just has some familiarity to, going to a mall or to, the Old Town, section can be challenging because parking is limited. However, I do like going to, I tend to like going to, sort of upper echelon restaurants, because when you're going to a place like a nice fish place or to a steak place, you're going to tend to receive, you may, certainly it's someone who has more money who's buying that, as opposed to picking up from Taco Bell, or, just as the, if you average it all out. And so if you're going to get a large order, say the food value is $75 from a certain place, you might, there's a better chance that you're also going to get a nicer tip on top of that, because someone, if someone tips, just say 10%, on an order that costs, $75, you're going to earn your base pay from DoorDash, and then, an additional $7.50. And, that effort to park, to walk into the restaurant, hopefully it's ready, all things being equal, pick it up and drive it. It's essentially the same effort as if, you have to sit in the drive-through at Taco Bell and, pick up, $6 worth of, bean and cheese burrito and drive it somewhere